Okay, let me help you with these questions about solving equations. This is the third assignment. So we have been learning about equations and we talk about the properties of equations. We say you can imagine equation as a balance. So each side, A and B, when they are balanced, they are equal. And there are certain properties. That means we make some changes, the equation will still remain equal. It will still be an equation. So these are the 10 properties, and we talked about them. And let's see how we can use them to help us with questions. Okay, the first one. According to property number 1, if 2x subtract 3 is 6, and then 2x is 9. So property 1, it says, if each side a plus c will equals to b plus c. So each side add the same number, the equation will still remain true. So here, to apply this property 1, if we add a c to each side, it will still remain equal. But what do we add? See here, we have a negative 3, right? We add 3. Why do we add 3? Because that's the opposite of negative 3. That's the opposite of negative 3. And then we add 3 on the other side. Here we're adding the same number. We're adding c, 3. And after this, we can, hey, negative 3 and plus 3. This part is going to be a 0. It's going to be a 0. So this, the left side is going to be a 2x. And the right side is 6 plus 3 is a 9. It's a 9. And that's true. Yeah, and you can verify if 2x is 9, this is 9, then 9 subtract 3, it's 6. So we can verify that. And let's go on to the second. According to property number 4, if 2x is 9, then x equals 9 plus 2. Property number 4, what does it say? It says a divided by c equals b divided by c. So it's basically saying both sides, if divided by the same number, it will still remain equation. Say we have 2x equals 9. The property says a divided by c equals b divided by c. So that means if we divide by a same number, and to solve this, we want to divide by the multiple of x. So what do we divide by? We will divide by 2. We will divide by 2. Why do we divide by 2? Because x is multiplied by 2. And then we do the opposite of multiply, that's division. We do the opposite of multiply by 2, that is divide by 2. If we do the opposite, they will cancel each other, right? 2 divided by 2, they will cancel, then we only have 1x. And that's equals to 9 divided by 2. If you use a calculator, you will find out this is 4.5. So we can actually solve this. And you can verify 2 times 4.5 is 9. So we divide by the multiple of x. We divide by the multiple of x. So this is false. According to property 4, we are dividing by the same number. We are dividing by 2, not plus. So this is false. This is false. This is false. And next, if both sides of an equation are multiplied by a same amount of c, the two sides will remain equal. So let's interpret this. Both sides of an equation, let's say we have the original equation a equals b, and they are multiplied by a same amount of c. So a times c and b times c. The two sides will remain equal. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If they are multiplied by the same amount of c, the two sides will remain equal. That's according to our property of number 3. Number 3, yes, according to property number 3. And I think you can imagine that, say, you have a marker and a pencil. A marker is it's the same price with a pencil. Then two markers will cost the same price as two pencils, right? And next one, according to property number 7, is this true or false? So let's write it down. 5 inside parentheses, this equals 15 subtract 5x. Okay, what is property number 7? What is property number 7? This is a property we use to unpack parentheses. So we have inside parentheses, we have two items, and we have outside the parentheses, multiplying the parentheses, and that it will be the number outside that multiplied by each number inside. So this is the property we use to unpack parentheses. So let's write it down here. You have a parenthesis, we unpack the number outside, that's a will multiply by b and a will multiply by c. So it will be ab and then plus ac. So this is how we unpack parentheses. Now what about this one? So it's going to be 5 multiplied by 3 and 5 multiplied by negative x. So 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. And then plus 5 multiplied by a negative x. Oh, and we can further simplify this. 5 times negative x is negative 5x. Negative 5x. And we can even further simplify. If you plus a negative number, we can just write it as 15 subtract 5x. If you plus a negative number, you can write it as subtract the 5x. And that is what we have. That is what we have. So we used this property number 7 to unpack, and we got this. We got this. And this is true. This is true. Next. Same according to property number 7. So it's the same property. Unpack the parentheses. Which one is equals to 4 times 7x subtract 4. So we are using the same property, and we are trying to unpack the parentheses. So to do this, the number outside multiplied by each number inside and then add them up. So we have 4 times 7x add 4 times negative 4, right? And 4 times 7x is the same as 4 times 7 is 28. 28 times x is 28x. And plus 4 times negative 4 is a negative 16. Negative 16. As we said, if you plus a negative number, you can write it as 28x subtract 16. Subtract 16. So this is going to be 28x subtract 16. So we are going to use this property number 7. We are going to use this a lot. We are going to use this a lot. So we need to be familiar with this property. And next, unpack. So unpack again. 0.5 times 2x subtract 4, right? And to unpack, this number outside multiplied by each number inside and then add up. So it's going to be 0.5 times 2x and plus 0.5 times negative 4. Okay, 0.5 times 2x is equals to 0.5 times 2. That's going to be 1, right? 0.5 times 2 is 1, and then 1x, and then plus 0.5 times negative 4, okay? If you are good at mental math, you can do it, or else we can use the calculator. So let's use calculator. Oh, yeah. And meanwhile, let's pause for a moment. Everyone, let's pause the video and subscribe. Let's subscribe. Okay, pause the video for a moment. Let's subscribe. Okay, so 0.5 times negative 4. So 0.5 times negative 4. And that's negative 2. Okay, the buttons on different calculators might be different, so you got to be familiar with the calculator you use. So on this calculator, on this Google calculator, it's 0.5, let's do it again, 0.5 times negative 2, and that's, 0.5 times negative 4, 0.5 times negative 4, and that is negative 2, negative 2. So plus negative 2. And then we can further simplify this. 1x, we can just write it as x. And plus negative 2, we can write it as subtract 2. So this is going to be x subtract 2. And our answer is x subtract 2. Which one is equals to? So again, we are practicing with the unpack. This is an important skill. This is an important skill. So number outside multiplied by each number inside, and then add up. So this 3 times x, right? This 3 times x, and then 3 times negative 6. This is gonna be negative 18, right? So 3x plus negative 18, and we write it as 3x subtract 18, right? So if you plus a negative number, it's the same as subtract the 18. So our answer is here. Our answer is here. What value of x makes the equation true? Good. We are starting to solve equations, although this is a quite simple one. Okay, so what should we do here? I know some students, you might be able to read the answer, right? You might be able to tell me, okay, Mr. X is 3. I guess you try to match up the numbers. Maybe you tried, say, 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, then 8 times 3 is 24, and then you are saying, okay, that's a 3. Yes, you can do that. But again, when we are dealing with more difficult question, you cannot say, if we change this question a little bit, let's say 8.8x equals 24 times 4, then you cannot match the numbers, right? So I urge you to switch to algebraic thinking. Okay, the earlier you make the transition, you will be better off. So with algebraic thinking, what do we do? Remember, as we previously did, if each side divide by a same amount of c, they will remain the same. And we can do division. We should divide. And what do we divide? We divide by the multiple of x. The multiple x multiplied by 8. Then we divide by 8. And we do the same thing on both sides. And why do we divide by 8? Because x was multiplied by 8. And we try to reverse that multiplication, and that's going to be division. So we divide by the multiple of x. And when we do this, you have 8 divided by 8, and that's gonna cancel. And you have 1x left. X equals to 24 divided by 8. And the answer is so obvious. It's a 3. And if we go back to the other question we just did, we said, okay, if we have 8.8x equals to 24.4, and you can see you cannot try to read the answer, you cannot match the numbers, right? But using algebraic method, we divide by the multiple of x, which is we divide by 8.8, and we do the same thing. Divide by 8.8, the multiple of x. If you divide by the multiple of x, you're kind of reversing this multiplication. So 8.8 divided by 8.8, this is going to be cancelled. And we have just this 1x equals 24 divided by 8.8. And you can easily use calculator to find out the answer. So if we do it, 24.4 divided by 8.8. And the result is 2.77272727. So 2.7727 blah blah. And you can see it's impossible for you to read this. It's impossible for you to actually read the result, right? And this is just one example of why we should switch to algebraic thinking and use the algebra method. Okay, so we can solve this. Oh. Okay, next. What value of x makes the equation true? So this equation 9 subtract x equals to 3. Okay, so I hope you still remember the steps. So to solve an equation, the first thing we unpack, right? We let's take away the parentheses, unpack. Well, there's nothing outside the parentheses. There's nothing outside. So we can just, take away the parentheses. It's the same as 9 subtract x, and that's a 3. And next, we will separate. That is, we want to separate the number to the other side. We want to separate this 9 to the other side. And how do we do that? So we are actually doing the opposite of 9, which is a negative 9. So we are actually doing is 9 and we subtract 9. And we subtract 9 on the other side. As you can see here, I'm just subtracting 9 from both sides. According to our property, if you subtract the same amount of c, it's still an equation, so we can do this. So we subtract 9 on both sides, it's still equal. And why do we subtract 9? As I said, it's the opposite of 9. So you can see here, there's a positive 9 and a negative 9. They two will cancel. 9 subtract 9 is going to be 0. Therefore, we only have a negative x here. And here, 3 subtract 9. 3 subtract 9 is a negative 6. It's a negative 6. That's the second step. We separate the numbers on one side and x on the other side. And last step, we will divide. So the third step. Divide by what? Divide by the multiple of x. So divide by the multiple is a negative 1. Divide by negative 1. And then we have, this can cancel out. Then we have x equals to negative 6 divided by negative 1. Negative 6 divided by negative 1. Negative 6 divided by negative 1. And that's going to be a positive 6. Again, you have to be familiar with your calculator. The buttons are not always the same operation as in this Google calculator. So you have to be familiar with your calculator, especially when you are dealing with negative numbers. So make sure you know how to use your calculator. And also again, you should know, like when we have two negative numbers multiplying or dividing by each other, that will be a positive number. So this is a 6. And our answer is x is 6. And these are the 3 steps we solve equations. Okay, last one. 11x subtract 7 is 59. And which one can make this true? Which one can make this true? Okay, we can try the same 3 steps. First, unpack. And you can see we don't have any parentheses here, so we can just skip because there's no parentheses. We don't have to unpack. And second, separate. To separate, we want to move the number to the other side. So if you move the number to the other side, it's the same as plus 7 on both sides. So 11x subtract 7, and then I plus 7. That will be equals to 59 plus 7. So I'm adding 7 on both sides. According to our property, you add the same amount of c, it's still equal. So this is still an equation. Then negative 7 plus 7 is going to be a 0, right? This part is going to be 0 out. Then we have 11x equals to 59 plus 7. And that's going to be, if you do it on calculator, it's going to be 66. And lastly, we do divide. And how do we divide? Lastly, we do divide. If 11x is 66, we divide by the multiple of x. We divide by 11. Why do we divide by 11? Because we are doing the reverse of x multiplied by 11. So we divide by 11 to negate x multiplied by 11. And since we are dividing by the same number, this is still equal. And 11 divided by 11, it's going to be cancelled out. We have just 1x equals to 66 divided by 11. 66 divided by 11. And that is 6. And we find out the answer. Okay. Before we leave, let me share with you another strategy. Like if you are really stuck and you cannot actually follow the 3 steps, there's one strategy. Like you can plug in all the options into the original. So you plug in 6 to wherever there's one x. You can test if this is true. So you plug in 11 times there's an x, so I plug a 6, subtract 7, and that's going to be 66, subtract 7, and that's 59. And if you test it, you will also see, okay, this is true. But if you test the other results, they are not true. For example, if let me pick this one. If I test this one, x is 8. So 11 times x, where the x is 8. So 11 times 8, subtract 7. 11 times 8, that's 88. Subtract 7, that's 81. And that's not 59. That's not 59. So that means this is false. So if your value cannot make this true, then that's not the answer. So that's one testing strategy. Okay, so that concludes our review for the Algebra third assignment. And before we go, pause the video. Let's subscribe. Subscribe. Okay, let's do it. Bye-bye.